Yeah, it was incredible. And, you can talk about lying down and not putting a foot on it and chasing, bodies and all of that. And then I think Mark DeSantos talked about that. I actually thought he was extremely classy last night. He didn't want to talk about fatigue or the travel or anything like that after the game, which I give him a lot of credit for. There was no excuses. But, ultimately, I would say this: if LAFC are playing at their best like that last night, and by the way, Carlos Vela wasn't even on the field, but no matter what the Whitecaps do, they're never going to beat LAFC. If LAFC play at their best, that's the concern that I have. And I have to say, I get a lot of things wrong, but in the meeting last night, an editorial meeting we had, I was genuinely concerned. The producer said we need to talk about what if the Whitecaps win the game tonight. What does that do for them? I said, okay, that's fine. But if they do win tonight, it's enormous for them. But I just can't see it because I've watched LAFC a lot this season and they were out the playoffs. And there's a lot of things to still like about them. Defensively, there's some questions. But when they are on, Stephen, and you've got Diego Rossi and you've got Brian Rodriguez playing the way they're playing, Uruguayan internationals, who may miss some games, by the way, coming up if they go to the Commonwealth qualifiers. We'll see about that. But there's, you've got the Atuesta, K, Cifuentes midfield. For me, it was just, it's a significant wake-up call for the Whitecaps and other teams. If you're not watching that and remembering that and that feeling, LAFC have spent money, of course they have, but they've recruited brilliantly. They've found real gems, and that's that. And when you go out and recruit these players, you can't have a squad, a bunch of roll of the dice guys. Okay, he might be good. We're going to sign him. We're going to roll the dice with him. He might perform. LAFC went out and signed players and have nurtured those players. Janela's going to be nurtured. Cifuentes is being nurtured right now. Blessing has reached that level. K's reached that level. Atuesta's at another level. Rodriguez. They're signing these players, Stevie, and they know what they're going to get when they get them, and they're making them better. And that's the difference. It's money, but it's recruitment, and it's what you do with them when you get them. And I just think there's so many things there that the Whitecaps need to learn from. And I think the disparity is alarming for the league.
Yeah, I like your last point there, KJ. What they're going to do when they get them. So they know why they're recruiting a certain player, his profile, his upside, his selling potential, his age, his role within their system, within their franchise, their team, their group. And that's key. And that's the problem for the Whitecaps specifically. Where is that lad going to fit in? The recruitment's been, quite frankly, poor to awful with the Whitecaps. They've barely got one right. And even the ones that come that have a little bit of potential and an idea that they could have a successful time, and I'm thinking Mom as an example of that, they don't know where to play them, and they don't have any consistency to the style that they play to actually get the best out of the lad. They never worked out in a year of being there what his best position was, where he could really play and be most effective. And in fairness to Mbom, his brain was probably scrambled at the end because he'd been asked to play 6, he'd been asked to play 8, he played 10, he sometimes played a little wide. It's just all over the place. Whereas when you're a LAFC player, Cifuentes, Janela's a good example, even the ones that go wrong, like Andre Horta, they know what they're coming in to do. They've got a chance to go and get on with that, to progress. Rob Bradley has a style that the game plan is always on the same theme. And so these guys are allowed time to nurture. And at the Whitecaps, that's not happening. There's no consistency. And I think maybe last night was they were a victim of their own recent success in that so they defend pretty well and they go back to the base. There's always let's get back to basics and defending. And then they win a couple of games and they get a little bit more expansive. And as soon as they try and go and build on that, it's back to square one. They've just been embarrassed 6-0. So next game, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be back to 2 blocks. It's going to be back to defensive. They're going to try not to concede goals. And they're going to try to hang in the game and come out with a positive result. And it always seems to be 1 step forward, 2 steps back for them at the moment. So there's so many things to work on. There's so many things that need to happen at that football club before they even get on the path to success, never mind anywhere near a team like a Seattle or an LAFC.
And this is the big divide right now, Luke. You talk about earlier about players being signed in cabs, right? No one's being signed in cabs anymore, but people are still being signed on the basis of an agent recommendation or a quick video. And we spoke to people in other clubs. I've spoke to Garth Lagerwey in Seattle. Thorrington's been spoke about people on this. These guys have so many contacts and they put so much work in. And then you go out and get players who are being looked at in Europe, envious of these players playing at that club. And that's the elite level of MLS now. You got to recruit at that level. There's so many players in this world who look at MLS going, I want to come to MLS. Look what Atlanta did. Okay, it's gone wrong for a little bit now for them. But then at least they knew when to punt, and they still made money on Pity Martinez, by the way. So, you've got to get better. That's the biggest problem right now, is that people can say it's money, but you've still got to recruit really well. And you've got to have smart people in those. The other thing about the Whitecaps for me is that there may well be pieces right now on that team that can be part of the next successful Whitecaps team. There may well be. We could go around, everyone could be talking about Veselinovic or Cornelius or whoever it is. But right now, they're being haunted because their development is being stunted by the fact that their recruitment has been, Stevie said, poor. It's been abysmal. Okay? Abysmal. That's what it's been. You look at the amount of players they've signed over the last 3 seasons, the amount of money they've thrown at those players, and for the most part, most of them have been thrown back. They're bringing the fish in, they're looking at it, they go, we don't want to eat you, we're throwing you back in the water. That's what they're doing. They're not developing them. There's nothing there. And I feel sorry for Mark DeSantos because it shouldn't be his position. He's there to coach. The recruitment's got to improve. But those guys, those gems that you might have, are getting haunted because you're not producing players around them. So it's a real concern for the Whitecaps. I'm not quite sure where they're going on it. And as I said, I've had more time to talk about it here, but last night should be a night they need to remember, not one they want to forget, because they should remember what that feels like. And you don't want to be embarrassed, and you got to go out there and figure out how you can get closer to those teams. No one's asking you to go out and compete against LAFC every week, but why can't you get closer to the other teams? It's an immediate wake-up call for ownership to spend more money, but also work harder on your recruitment and find gems that other teams are envious of. Because right now there are very few players on the Whitecaps team that anybody in MLS goes, we wish we had him.
2 years ago tomorrow was the day that the Whitecaps fired Carl Robinson and decided to make the change there. 2 years on, well, they're no further forward, are they? Absolutely.
No, they're no further forward, and that's frustrating from a Whitecaps fan base because it has to be said, Bob Lenarduzzi, when he came out, and I know he's not involved anymore, but the reasoning for firing Carl Robinson was we are a playoff team. The next step we're going to be is a championship team. And I'm sorry, but how foolish does that look at the moment? And the Whitecaps fans, it is a wonderful city to live. It is a wonderful city to appeal to players. There's an intelligent fan base there that love the game. There's so many things that could get right. They've got that rivalry with great cities like Seattle or Portland. There's a lot of things that can go right for it, but right now, the people who are making the decisions there are getting too many things wrong. Too many things wrong. And back to my point earlier about the point about San Jose, there's not enough accountability for consistent failure in Major League Soccer. And that's the thing. That's what's holding the league back compared to all the leagues around the world. You name the league, Portuguese league, Italian league, Mexican, it doesn't matter what the leagues are. There are examples, so many of them around the world, that if you don't succeed, the performance is affecting the results and jobs are lost. So it's a difficult time for a Whitecaps fan. I feel for them. I really do, because even their DP man last night wasn't trusted to play in the game. They spent over $1 million on a left back, and you don't trust him in the game because defensively you can't trust him to play in a match like that. Now, it's the right decision, but again, it's another decision that they've got wrong in terms of recruitment.